welcome. You're watching Business at 9 with me, Jude, Sanat and Shibani Garat. Shibani, it's been a rather disappointing day for, on the earnings front. Maruti, for instance, leading that list of not so great earnings.
Right.
In fact, that's largely been on account of higher material costs. And we'll just take a look in a bit in terms of how these higher costs have actually dragged India's biggest automaker, Maruti Suzuki, into the slow lane. Now, the auto major reported a big miss on EBITDA and margins in the quarter gone by, even as revenues jumped by 37%. My colleague Avi joins us from the research desk with these details.
Maruti Suzuki has come out with its Q1 FY27 numbers, and the numbers are weak because the EBITDA is a big miss on what the street was estimating, and the margins have also contracted by 2.2% on a yearly basis, coming in at 8.2%. Although the revenue has grown by 37% on a yearly basis, and the revenue and PAT both are in line with what the street was estimating, the material cost inflation has impacted the profitability, and that is the reason the margins are down. Talking about the sales volume are up 29.3% on a yearly basis because of the capacity commissioning done at the Kharkhoda plant. The domestic market share of the company has also increased by 2.3% to now at 41.2% for the company. The higher sales were possible because of the capacity they commissioned at the Kharkhoda plant. But the impact of the West Asia crisis is now being felt by Maruti as the material cost has increased considerably, impacting the profitability and thereby the EBITDA for the company. So all in all, a weak set of results from Maruti because the EBITDA was impacted.
Now, ITC reported extremely weak Q1 earnings for the current fiscal year, impacted by higher cigarette taxes, revenue margins and net profit all came in below estimates, with performance missing expectations across all the major parameters. My colleague Harsh is here with more details on this.
Well, ITC was expected to be a weak set, but essentially it's been even weaker than what the estimates were penciling in. There's a 9% lower revenue number versus our own estimates, and that has had a knock-on effect on margins to a larger extent. The margins have been also hit by the cigarette business to the largest extent. Really, that's where a substantial amount of weakness has come in. Now, before I come to that margin number, I'll just quickly give you the numbers themselves. We've seen a negative 14%, or rather a 14% degrowth in terms of top line, a 28% degrowth in terms of EBITDA, and PAT is down 27% YOY. When you're looking at the estimates as well, a 9% lower number on the revenue, EBITDA 16% lower versus estimates, so severe weakness, and profitability has taken a knock off around 18% versus estimates as well, which were already cut given the fact that there was expected to be weakness. Now, essentially, let's talk a little bit about each of the segments, and cigarettes to that extent has taken the largest knock with regard to segmental results. 35% lower on the PBT impact of the cigarette profitability. That's really essentially what is driving the lower EBITDA as well as the lower margins. Margins, in fact, if I were to just quickly give you a perspective, margins are at 26.7%. Expectation was 28.7%, 200 bips lower than expected. And versus last year, it's 500 bips lower than the last year's numbers. Essentially, FMCG PBIT has done actually quite well, PBT. And we've seen FMCG PBT up 21% YOY. Top line also demonstrated good growth in FMCG ex cigarettes. Agri is down YOY given the fall on the top line. So that has played its impact on EBITDA and profit contributions. And paper is in fact doing very well. That one, obviously, a very small segment for ITC, but is up 37% in terms of segmental profitability for paperboard. So that segment has actually done very well for itself.
Meanwhile, Sun Pharma shares fell in trade today despite a steady set of earnings in the first quarter. The drop in share prices is largely due to a weakness in the US markets. My colleague Meryl joins in for all the number crunching.
Right, so Sun Pharma's first quarter numbers have come in largely in line with the street's estimates, with no upsides or major downsides when it comes to the company's operational performance or guidance. The street was expecting a weak quarter in terms of US business due to the absence of generic Revlimid and Lanreotide, which has played out. US formulations were largely flat, with innovative medicines driving growth for the company. On the other hand, India has also performed very well, with domestic business leading the growth for the company. Emerging markets and rest of the world has also clocked in strong double-digit growths. EBITDA margin has come under pressure as per expectations, which with margins down upwards of 200 basis points on a year-on-year basis. And on the key monitorables front, the management has said that Organon acquisition remains on track to closing in the early months of the calendar year 2027. They've also highlighted recent semaglutide approvals in key geographies as a growth driver for the company, and this has reinforced its peptide strategy overall. Global innovative medicines as a segment has grown 13% year-on-year, led by brands like Illumia, Cequa and Odomzo. So overall, Sun Pharma has been seen delivering a steady year-on-year performance with stronger than expected India growth, helping offset most of its weakness from its US business.
Now, auto industry is likely to report another month of healthy wholesale dispatches in July, supported by sustained demand in passenger vehicle and commercial vehicle segments. My colleague Avi joins in with what to expect.
So the auto sales number are going to come for the month of July, and let's have a look at them. For the PV segment, we are penciling in a 25% year-on-year growth overall, with only Hyundai being the performer that is expected to come below the estimate. Talking about the PV segment, we can see that the retail demand is good because of the new product launches that are in pipeline and the attractive financing options available to customers. The premiumization is also leading to the uptick in the demand in the PV segment. Talking about the next segment, CV, we are seeing a 20% growth on a year-on-year basis with the pre-BS7 kicking in. So stocking up is happening because of that, and that is leading to good volumes in the CV segment. Talking about the two-wheeler segment, we can see that the marriage season or the wedding season is coming up along with the rural recovery. So that is leading to a good, healthy buying in the two-wheeler segment, and the export markets like that of Latin America, Brazil and Asia are doing very well for the two-wheeler segment. Talking about the tractor segment, we can see that the Rabi cash flows have been positive as it is up 19% on a YY basis, and the MSP tailwinds is also a thing that is favoring the tractor segment. So fuel inflation and rainfall recovery is something that is remains a key monitorable for the tractor segment. Looking at some of the numbers, moving on, as we see that the PV numbers for Maruti are expected to come in at 238,000 units, while for M&M Auto they are expected to come at 107,500 units, and for Hyundai it is expected at 70,000 units, which will be a growth of 17%, while for Tata Motors PV it will come at 53,000 units, that will be a growth of 32%. So all in all, the PV segment can see growth on a YY basis in the range of 28 to 33%. Up next is the CV segment, where we can see that Tata Motors CV will sell about 36,600 units for the month gone by, while Ashok Leyland sells 17,000 and Eicher Motors VECV sells 9,000. So the CV segment is something that in the month of June had performed very well, and Ashok Leyland as a result of that had even given us some good strong rally. So it will be something to look out for as to how the CV segment performs for the month of July. Up next is the two-wheeler segment. Investors' favorite Royal Enfield is expected to sell 116,000 units, while TVS Motors is expected to sell 585,000 units. Hero MotoCorp coming in at 510,000 units, and Bajaj Auto at 470,000 units, which will be up 28%. So broad-based 20% growth for the two-wheelers on a YY basis for the month of July. Our last segment would be the tractor segment, where Escorts is expected to sell 8,100 units, up 13% on a yearly basis, and M&M Tractor selling 32,200 units at up 12% on a year-on-year basis. M&M Tractor in the agri segment has a 44.9% market share. So that is a quite demanding position that M&M has in the agri segment. So all in all, a good broad-based demand we can see in the auto sector, and that is the reason the auto sector is also rallying up with stocks with OEMs like Hero MotoCorp and TVS Motors seeing some good rally in the trade.
And it's a bit of a setback for India's debt market this Friday evening. Bloomberg Index Services has deferred the inclusion of Indian government bonds into the Bloomberg Global Aggregate Index following an earlier delay in January. Now we have Anurag Joshi joining us to put things in perspective. Anurag, take it away.
Bloomberg Index Services has deferred taking a decision on including Indian bonds in its debt indexes. Bloomberg Index Services says that it needs more time for deciding on the inclusion, and the Indian government bond market is making meaningful progress towards meeting standards expected for the inclusion. And these developments reinforce positive trajectory of Indian government bond market, and Bloomberg Index Services has been preparing to include the Indian bonds in the Bloomberg Global Aggregate Index. Bloomberg Index says that many market participants would like to see these enhancements become more firmly established, which have to do with the structure of the local debt market. The Bloomberg Global Aggregate Index is a key benchmark for the global investment grade fixed income markets, and BISL believes that the inclusion decision should be supported by regulatory and market structure reforms.
Now, Wall Street is seeing a volatile session in the Dow Jones is ticking slightly up, while the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 have slipped marginally as the sharp spike in U.S. bond yields weigh on the sentiment. The 30-year Treasury yield has climbed to around 5.26%, hitting its highest level since 2007. Investors are also digesting earnings from the hyperscalers, including Apple. Now, against this backdrop, reflecting a mixed session for U.S. markets.
Meanwhile, back home in India, the country's semiconductor push continues to gather pace. ISM 2.0 guidelines are in the final stages and will be rolled out soon. 2 more semiconductor projects are all set to begin operations this year. In fact, my colleague Sumita caught up with Amitesh Sinha, CEO of India Semiconductor Mission, to discuss more. Take a look.
All global technology companies are taking chips, and this gives confidence that the quality products are coming from this, because it is supported by technology partners like Renesas or Micron and all those things. So it is a very good story. And in Semicon 2.0, this entire development will be accelerated. So now we are trying to focus on ecosystem. So ecosystem will help Semicon 1.0 project also, as well as Semicon 2.0 project also. So this will solve a lot of difficulty level of these plants who have already started working on their manufacturing.
Right. So it's also interesting to note that semiconductor is an important part of the conversations that the Prime Minister has, or of course, the External Affairs Minister, whenever they travel out, or even the Commerce Minister, whenever he's traveled out, there are active conversations around companies looking at aligning with India, looking at partnering with India. At this point in time, what's the kind of response that you're receiving? Which geographies are eliciting this kind of response? Japan, we do know, is one. What's the kind of response that you've received from Japanese companies, and how is that going to get translated in the investment that we're going to see from abroad into Indian startup semiconductor ecosystem?
So Japanese company response is overwhelming. And from all countries that we have signed MOUs, whether the US or EU or Netherlands, Germany, Singapore, Japan, all of them, their companies, and those countries where we have not signed, in the process of discussing, those companies are also participating in a big way. They are already meeting local partners. Some of them will set up at their own. Some of them are searching for the joint venture partnership. Some of them are searching for technology transfer, all that. Because this is the opportunity where the 1 trillion of semiconductor market will become 2 trillion in next 7 to 8 years. A lot of expansion scope is there. India is giving an opportunity to all those companies to avail their expansion plan in India with the support of incentives on the capex side also, on the opex side also. And obviously the cost of manufacturing is going to be very cheap from India if they consider India.
So you do expect multiple JVs to be signed?
Yes.
Just one final question, sir, and this is on the aspect related to startups. Of course, companies are doing the heavy lifting, but it's also important to develop the deep tech ecosystem in the country. You did mention that government is keen at taking equity as part of the scheme. Government will take equity of startups startups which are which have good projects, etc. But will the government also looking at sort of management in these companies? What is the kind of corpus out of the overall 1.27 lakh crores that you have allocated specifically for startups and deep tech startups?
So as I have mentioned earlier also, there is no intention of government to participate in their day-to-day management. We are enabling them. We are there to support their activity, including the management decision that they are taking.
Welcome back. You're watching Business at 9, and let's move on to some geopolitical action next. The Ministry of External Affairs has said it is aware of the latest development on the US sanctions bill and is closely monitoring the situation. In fact, the ministry maintained that India's position on energy security remains clear, with the focus on securing its energy needs through diversified sources. Let's listen in.
Let me say that we are aware of this development and we are closely monitoring the situation. As you know, very well aware that on energy security, our position has been clarified and very well articulated on several occasions. It is something which is predicated on our national priorities and on securing the energy needs of our 1.4 billion people, our citizens, through diversified sources, which includes the United States. We remain engaged with relevant stakeholders in the United States at various levels on this particular matter.
Now let's also go across to Tapas Roy, the Minister of Industry and Commerce and Enterprises, Public Enterprises and Industrial Reconstruction, Non-Convertible and Renewable Energy Sources, Government of West Bengal.
I am a startup minister. I have nothing. In my predecessors in the last government, they left nothing. Such as, you know, the industrial policy, land bank, land policy, incentives were withdrawn, ease of doing business, and many other things related to this industrial growth of our state. Anyway, now I will go through the vision is built on 5 keynotes. We are working on it. We are trying our level best. Our Honorable Chief Minister is only on this. We are getting support from the central government too, by our Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Home Minister and other ministers, group of ministers. So historically, West Bengal has been one of India's leading industrial centers. Today we are entering a new phase of growth, driven by innovation, advanced manufacturing, sustainability, and inclusive development. Our government believes the industrialization is not merely about setting up factories. It is about creating jobs, strengthening infrastructure, empowering communities, and ensuring that growth reaches every part of the state.
Meanwhile, West Bengal's Rural Development Minister Dilip Ghosh spoke at the Times Network East India Growth Summit about the future of Bengal's rural areas. Take a look.
मैं बंगाल का गांव से बोल रहा हूं. बंगाल की गांव बोलता है, लेकिन सुनने वाला कोई नहीं था. अब पूरा देश सुन रहा है कि बंगाल क्या बोलना चाहता है. दूर से सुनते हैं, यहां आके सुन रहे हैं और हमको पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या करना चाहिए. हमें जमीन चाहिए, हमें ऑफिस चाहिए. तो हम भी बोल रहे हैं कि बहुत दिन से हम आपका इंतजार कर रहे थे, आप भी आइए. सोनार बांग्ला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है हमारे सामने, ये केवल एक कल्पना नहीं है. अभी चर्चा चल रहा था. सोनार बांग्ला था. हर दृष्टि से यहां के लोग और दुनिया को, देश को नेतृत्व करने वाले थे और पूरा देश के लोगों का एक बार इच्छा था बंगाल आने के लिए. दुनिया से हिंदुस्तान आना और हिंदुस्तान से एक बार बंगाल आना, कलकत्ता आना, सबकी इच्छा होती थी. लेकिन पिछले 20-25 साल, और बोले तो और थोड़ा पीछे 50 साल से, ये सब पीछे हटता गया. इकोनॉमी से लेकर के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, कम्युनिकेशन, ट्रांसपोर्ट, हर चीज में हम पीछे गए. पिछले 5-7 साल से तो हम देख रहे थे. दिल्ली में मैं भी एमपी था, जाता था, लोगों से मिलता था, लोगों का घर भी जाता था. यहां से जब गए हैं लोग, जब चर्चा होता था बंगाल के बारे में, तो मैं बोलता था आइए बंगाल में, तो उल्टा वो बोलते थे आप पहले आइए. अब जब हम आ गए हैं, अब वो बोल रहे हैं हम आ रहे हैं. मैं अभी पिछले महीना ही दीनदयाल जी का बलिदान दिवस के उपलक्ष्य में 21 जून को गया था मुंबई. वहां बुलाए थे कार्यक्रम में लोगों ने. मैं, माननीय राहुल दा भी गए थे. क्या 11 घंटा ले गए थे. शाम को 7 बजे गए, सुबह 5:30 बजे निकल गए. तो वहां व्यवसायी थे और जो आयोजक थे, वहां के मंत्री और नेता सब लोग थे. तो सबका वही कहना है कि हम तो आने वाला है, हमें तो ऑफिस चाहिए, जुलाई में ऑफिस खोल लेंगे, व्यवसाय स्टार्ट करेंगे। तो एक पूरा देश का अभी निगाह हमारे बंगाल की तरफ है और हम भी सबको स्वागत करने के लिए तैयारी कर रहे हैं जितना जल्दी हो। मुझे जो काम दिया गया है, गांव का लगभग 70% पॉपुलेशन गांव में रहता है। अभी भी सबका जीविका कृषि से जुड़ा नहीं है, लगभग 60-62% लोग कृषि के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। लेकिन बांग्ला मतलब गांव, विलेज, और विलेज मतलब आज नहीं, ब्रिटिश के पहले से ही हमारे मुर्शिदाबाद का सिल्क और मुर्शिदाबाद की इकोनॉमी दुनिया में उदाहरण था।
Now, speaking at the Times Network East India Summit, Agnimitra Paul, West Bengal's Urban Development Minister, recalls her days as a designer and how she can incorporate the learnings to make the state cities more beautiful and comfortable.
It's just an extension of the designing of garments which I was doing, for the last 23 years. And I would like to see my state, Bengal, in that, from the designer's point of view. It doesn't only mean being an urban development minister, that it's only about roads, bridges, and asphalt and, these things. I feel urban development means to create space where we, the people, the younger generation, are comfortable, create beautiful spaces, maintaining the environment, development happening at the same time. And we are planning in that way. We are, taking a major project of greening the dividers. Between the two roads, we have dividers. We have major space under the bridges. We are planning to redesign the bus stops with hanging garden, with solar energy, on the top, with digital screen. So these kind of things are always, it's not only about roads, it's about making the place beautiful where people are comfortable and improving the lifestyle of the people.
And India's medal rush at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games continues, with Asmita De clinching gold in the women's 48 kg judo final. The victory takes India's medal tally to 18 now. That's 4 gold, 10 silver and 4 bronze medals. And there could be plenty more to come, with 10 Indian boxers already through to the semi-finals, guaranteeing further medals as the games enter the business end of things. In fact, Shaurya joins us with more details.
Yes, Jude, a great day for India at the Commonwealth Games today as we win our 4th gold medal at this Games, and it is Asmita De who wins the finals at the 48 kg category in judo. She has become the first woman to win a gold medal in judo. With that, it is the boxers who are shining more, as 3 boxers are in the final. Their names are Jasmine, Arundhati and Jadumani. So there is a confirmed gold or a silver medal in 3 boxing event, with more incoming. And today, it will be Neeraj Chopra taking on the finals of the javelin event in the athletics. So we are hoping for a medal there as well. So overall, a great day and a great week for India at the Commonwealth Games.
Well, thank you, Shaurya, for those updates. Now, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business at 9. Goodbye from me, Shubhani Gharat, and my colleague, Jude Sanid. Bye-bye.